Hey YouTube, this is probably going to be the last video I upload tonight. I have a question for all of you, and all of you out there you seem to be very intelligent folks. Judging from the comments, this is why I'm bringing this question up to all of you out there. First of all, what do you think of this tiny house movement? That'd be the first question. I've seen all the little houses on trailers that really weren't designed to carry that amount of weight. but and the other things they do to get them under the loopholes, to get them through the loopholes of not having to be code compliant. But on the downside of that, they're neat little houses, but look at what they charge for those things. The question I'm asking, I'm thinking about getting into this area, but not in such a way. I'm not going to build houses on trailers. I lived in trailer houses, and I was not all that impressed with them, the level of maintenance that had to be put into them. And I imagine these things are very similar after you've pulled them around a bit. I think the market right now is right. I think the market right now is right for kit homes or small site-built homes. Think about all those thousands of people. If you really want to see how bad the foreclosure situation has gotten, you don't have to look at Detroit. It's all over the country. Look at a place in Florida. There's actually a video on YouTube. There was a place on the west coast of Florida called Lehigh Acres that pretty much explains it in a nutshell. The situation that people are going through right now. And also people such as myself who were set upon by the people who loaned us our money because they were crooked and they thought they could turn a better profit by kicking us out and flipping the land. Didn't work out that way for them though. I was able to sell it. There's a lot of unscrupulous people running around right now in the foreclosure business. And a lot of us peons are taking it on the head. Taking it on the chin, I think, is the best word. But anyway, the market is right now for houses maybe in the sub-1,000-foot range. Even though there's a lot of code requirements in cities, there's lots of places outside the cities where there are no code requirements as far as square footage. And I'm walking the streets every day, and I'm seeing these people. They're on the verge of being homeless. They can barely afford what they're living in. And it's more house than, and they'll even admit to you, a lot of them, it's more house than they actually need. There's a lot of people right now that don't have homes. They have a little money, maybe up to about $10K that they could spend on something. A sub 500 square foot house could be built in the range of $10K or a little less. If you're not greedy and you don't take excessive profit on these things, you make back what you spent on it and maybe a little for your trouble. That way you can get and start building the next one, I've got the tools finally together. I only have a few things left to get. I've got the know-how because my family was in construction. I was a construction company brat. We moved around a bit, but I learned all kinds of things. I learned how to frame. I learned how to run electrical. I learned how to do plumbing. I'm semi-skilled in the roofing area. It's not really good for me to do those kind of things because of my skin. I'm an albino, as you probably can tell. But it hasn't stopped me from doing things to help other people. And I think there's no more honest trade, as long as you don't get greedy. There's no more honest profession than making it possible for a person to put a roof over their head. Building homes. And this is the niche that I've wanted to do. I had these ideas for these small kit-built homes and things back when I was a kid, but everybody thought I was stupid or crazy. But it's really funny how the wheel has turned and times have changed. So, I'm getting things together and I'm teaching myself, refreshing my knowledge of these things. I'm building things and I'm doing more and more projects. And I think that I'm going to go ahead and go into the career of building small houses for people. Houses that they can afford, that they can put themselves and maybe one or two other people in, and they can live comfortably in a warm house that's easy to heat. I've had floor plans drawn up for this stuff for ages. I've got some for A-frames. I've got some for other small houses. I'll probably start with A-frame or maybe a small cube house because the cube is an efficient design as far as materials use, but the A-frame is also an uber efficient design. Fewer materials to span more distance. Of course, you have some waste of space, or it can be a waste of space because of the triangular design, but there's ways around those problems. But you just can't beat the strength other than building a monolithic dome. You just can't beat the strength of an A-frame house. And where you have falling trees and falling branches, an A-frame is a good investment. It's not going to be as easily damaged or destroyed. But I thought about building them where the smaller, simpler ones, we could just simply go out and set them up on site. The materials would arrive on a truck. They could be built pretty quick. Or it could be where the owner buys it. It arrives flat packed on the truck. Everything is already built into the walls. Everything is framed up and ready to go. All they got to do is put it together and hook up the necessary connections, the plumbing and the electrical. You could put foolproof plugs on these things. Or you could offer to do the finish work once it arrives. And I'm thinking about building some of these houses where they could be modular. You could start out with a small house, and then later when you have a little more money, you want to add a couple of rooms, there's a module. You take the overhang of the roof off, you take the skin off, it unbolts on that wall, you bring the module in, slide it up to it, bolt it together, bolt the roof up there, shingle that part where it came together, and then on the end you rebolt the overhang. And now you have a house that could be roughly twice the amount of house it was. But these are the things I'm thinking about, what I'm thinking of doing. Because like I said, I'm almost done with my study on roofing. I want to improve my knowledge on that. But I've been framing stuff now and doing things, and it's really... It's actually, if you've ever framed stuff, it's kind of a challenge with a hammer and nails. But when you have pneumatic tools, the accuracy, speed, and all of that improves. I'm not a lightning fast builder like the pros, but I'm no turtle either. So, build at my own pace. I could turn out one at a time in the beginning. I've got some acreage. I'm thinking about building a project house over there, just to see if I can do it. And if the project house turns out good, I'll probably sell it. But it'll be the first one. And the first one is always the hardest one. I don't have a lot of money to invest in this, so I'm going to have to get the materials as I go and stockpile them and then build. And luckily I have connections, people who can scrounge up stuff pretty easily. So that's my plan for the future. I just want to know what y'all think about it. What do you think? Is it a good time to get into small housing? The economic crisis is by no means over. And things are not going to get cheaper. I mean, I hate to be the one to blow the wake-up horn to all these other people, but things are not going to get cheaper. And why does one person have to buy a house that has to be a minimum of 1,500 square feet in some places to 2,000 square feet when he can't afford it? Because the way the codes are set up, But yeah, that's what I'm thinking about doing. I'm thinking about making a career. I've already got 2 floor plans drawn up, and I think these houses that I'm going to design, I'm going to incorporate them with standard. They're going to have at least 500 watts of solar on them, standard, when I build them. It could be requested not to have, but they'll be self-sufficient in that regard. A small house is very efficient to light and heat and cool. And you can do hybrid systems where you have solar for most of it, and then for the heavier loads, you can have a grid connection, which will greatly reduce your cost. Few people even think about the fact that when you walk off and you use your lights all the time, leave them on here, there, even with high efficiency lighting, a lot of your electrical expense is just in running lights. It's not in those super heavy loads. Like right now, I've got maybe a heater going, but in the spring and fall, you don't even run heating and cooling. In the summer, you may run some cooling, and in a little house, you won't need much, So you could have a grid connection just for that. Just for that. So I plan on doing that. Some form of solar power equipped on these. I have experience installing and operating solar, so why not, And I looked at an estimate to build a 16-foot by 16-foot one or two person house that has a decent bathroom, not this shower bath crap like they're putting in these tiny houses, but a bathroom with a real tub, real toilet, real sink. It also would have a kitchen with either a full-size fridge or an under-counter fridge to give you more counter space, but with a full functioning range and everything. And also it would have a living room and a decent-sized bedroom with closet storage. Could build that for less than $10,000. And I did retail research. I priced all the materials like I was going to a Home Depot and just buying them off the shelf. You can do that for about $10,000. Site built. Plus or minus a little, but not much. So a person could build something, and if you weren't greedy, you didn't charge like $50,000 for a house, a little house. Maybe charge 12 to 15. You make back your money in the materials, and you have a little bit for your trouble. You have your labor paid, and it's honest. You've just helped somebody who couldn't otherwise get into a house. Now they have a home they can call their own. And let me tell you, my first home, I got a little 8x24 Terry camper. It was a 72. That first house for me, I remember how good that was when I got out and I got into that first place that I lived. I mean, that was the greatest thing because I had my own house. But to have a house built like this, you imagine how that would be for somebody to have their first house, and a real house. Or maybe somebody who's been homeless because the bank screwed them over, or the realty company screwed them over, or who knows what. This is a way they can get back on their feet. And man, nothing feels better, and I know this because I've helped a few people get back on their feet. Nothing in the world feels better to a person than when they're back on their own 2 feet and they're on a solid foundation and they can begin reconstructing their life again, starting from a solid base point. If you've never owned a home and you're just a renter, or maybe you don't care to own a home, you're missing the point. The point of it. The people who do understand, the people who have owned homes understand the solidity that gives you. And that's why I'm thinking about getting into this. I want to take my knowledge and try to do something that helps people. So, what do y'all think? I mean, I know it's quite a sales pitch, but it's how I feel about it. So let me know, comment below. You're all very intelligent people, and whether you like it or dislike it, I want to read it all. Take care.